morning, class 10. So we were in chapter 9, and in my previous class I explained to you a very important concept of this chapter, that is debt trap. So hopefully you must have read that particular topic on page number 109. The next topic, very important, I would say the most important topic from this particular chapter, that questions will be asked in ICSE definitely from this part, is about multinational corporations. On page number 110, we have a topic MNC. MNC stands for multinational corporations. Now we will try to understand what is an MNC. Okay, what are the advantages that MNC has brought about globally? What are the disadvantages that MNCs have brought in countries like India? And then we will discuss one disaster that occurred in India because of an MNC. First and foremost, let's understand what is a multinational corporation. A multinational corporation, they are industries, they are firms, they are huge firms, most of which the headquarters are located in developed countries. They have their basic headquarters in a developed country, and what they start doing is they start setting up subsidiary units, that is branches, are set up in the third world countries. In the developing and the underdeveloped countries, they start setting up their branches. So the main headquarter is all the time in a developed country, but the branches are all in the third world countries. Now what happens? Why does an MNC, a multinational corporation, why do they bring their subsidiary units to countries like India? And why does India accept all these multinational corporations? Why do we accept it? When we compare a developed and a developing nation, a developed country's pollution regulation norms are very strict. They are very stringent. They are not allowed to pollute their environment because the government is very strict. Whereas if we compare our country, the pollution control norms are not in place. They are not stringent, they are not strict. The laws may be there, but they are rarely followed. Now, because of not having strict pollution control laws in developing countries, these branches of multinational corporations, many industries, they are set up in countries like India. I will take the example of India so that you better understand the topic. Let me give you a few examples of MNCs. All of us drink Pepsi, we drink Coke. They are not Indian companies, they are American companies. So when we go to the reality of a Pepsi and a Coke, it takes only ₹2 to make a liter of Pepsi or Coke, because it is only water, carbon dioxide. So, but when we bring that company, we have PepsiCo companies in India today. When we make Pepsi and Coke in India and we sell it in the market, it is sold at almost 70 rupees a liter. Where does the profit go? All the profit, 2 rupees you are spending, but you are making profit of 68 rupees. Where does the profit go? It goes to the developed nations. Now, when all the profit is going back to the developed nations, why does a country like India readily accept multinational corporations? Why do we allow them to come into our country? Is because of the job crisis. Population. Highly populated country, majority of youth in your country, jobless youth in your country. So we very happily invite the multinational corporations into our country. India is flooded with thousands and thousands of multinational corporations. And why do we have them? Is because all the youth, 80% of the youth of your country, they are employed in the MNCs. So because population is high, Because we are always in a debt trap. Please remember the concept of debt trap that I taught you. Debt trap is there in India, financial crisis is there in India, unemployment problems are there, population is expanding day by day. We very happily invite the MNCs. We are not bothered about how they are degrading the environment, what they are doing to the environment. We have to sacrifice those thoughts because our youth are employed in the MNCs. Okay, so first in this era of globalization, MNCs have taken their place everywhere, all the markets. Now, if you are asked in the examination, what is the good thing about MNC? There are definitely positive points about MNCs, bringing the MNCs in various parts of the country. The good part is they are increasing the wealth. The GDP of your country rises because of the presence of MNCs. Okay, and then job opportunities are there for many millions and millions of people get employed because of these branches coming to your country. Right? So these are the benefits that MNCs have brought globally. Now, if we try to understand the disadvantage of an MNC, let's take the example of India and let's take Pepsi into consideration. We have Pepsi companies all over India. Now, what is happening with the Pepsi company of, say, Delhi, industry that has been set up in Delhi for Pepsi? In one day, in one particular day, 10 million gallons of underground water is taken out to manufacture Pepsi in your country. 10 million gallons of water to manufacture Pepsi to satisfy the demands of the developed nation, and so much of underground water we use that our own agricultural land does not get water. Our agricultural output dies, our plants die, our crops die because of lack of water. But what is happening on the other side? We are utilizing that particular water to manufacture Pepsi. This is the environmental damage that MNCs have brought into the developing nations. Then these industries are set up in India. There is tons and tons of carbon dioxide and other poisonous gases liberated into the air. Nobody is bothered because our air pollution laws are not strict at all. So we allow them to release the poisonous toxic gases into the environment. So greenhouse effect, it is increasing because of the MNCs. CFCs have been banned all over the world, but what the MNCs are doing, they are using products with chlorine, which will later go and destroy the ozone layer. Even if it is banned, they are still using it in the underdeveloped nations, right? Then they are lavishly destroying the forest cover of your country. We destroy the forest cover of our country to satisfy the demands of those multinational corporations. We are destroying our natural capital, forest, water, air, soil. Everything is polluted, contaminated, destroyed, degenerated because of multinational corporations. But because we are in debt trap but because we want to satisfy the job demands of millions of Indian youth, we still accept MNCs, right? So this is the story on multinational corporation. And one topic that is very, very important here is the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh, you must have heard about the tragedy that occurred in Bhopal. Now in Bhopal, you have to first remember the date. It occurred on 3rd December 1984. Okay, so the date is asked to you, when did the Bhopal Gas Tragedy occur? It occurred on 3rd December 1984. Now which industry? It is UCIL, that is Union Carbide India Limited. Now we call it Union Carbide India Limited, but you have to understand that this was not an Indian company, this was a foreign company that was set up in Madhya Pradesh in Bhopal, and this particular company was a pesticide industry, manufacturing pesticides and using a deadly chemical, that is methyl isocyanate. If you are asked which chemical leaked out during the Bhopal gas tragedy where so many people lost their lives, it is methyl isocyanate. You have to be very careful with the spelling, because the moment you change the spelling and make it cyanide, the chemical changes. So it is methyl isocyanate, Union Carbide India Limited, and it occurred in 1984. Right. Now, this particular industry, why did the MIC leak out? It was a multinational corporation, as I told you, an American company had set this up in India. Now, why did the MIC leak out? Let me tell you a few points that are given on page number 111. Why did the MIC leak out? What were the problems with this industry because of which this disaster occurred? Now, please see on page number 111 and try to read out. In chapter 1, we have done zoning, if you remember. Now, this is something to do with zoning here. This particular industry was situated in a place where 120,000 people were living in the vicinity of the industry. The industry was in the center and there were 120,000 people, residents in and around, which is wrong. As you know, according to chapter 1, we have done zoning. Industrial area and residential areas should be segregated and on the opposite paths. Industry should not be mixed with places where people are staying. But what had this industry done? It was in a place where almost more than 100,000 people were surviving. Right in the center, the industry was located. The first mistake. The second mistake of this particular industry was that they were storing MIC, methyl isocyanate was being stored, and the capacity that was there to store this particular chemical, the chemicals were being stored beyond the carrying capacity of that tanker. The tanker had a certain capacity, but the MIC that was stored was beyond. More MIC was stored than the tanker could actually carry. Right? So this was the second mistake that the industry had done. And then to control disasters in an industry, there are machineries which are installed. Now the machine which was actually there, even if MIC would leak sometime, the machinery which was there, caustic soda inside a machine, inside a scrubber, it was there, and that the caustic soda is supposed to trap the MIC and keep it inside even if there is leakage. But what had happened with this industry was the scrubber was there, but the entire machinery was defective. It was lying defective. The vital gauges to control the leakage was defective, and nothing was done about repairing this particular machine. And then there was lack of maintenance in the industry, no safety drills. Even if you are in a school, you know what we have done in the school. Kalimpong is very prone to earthquakes, so we have had plenty of safety drills in the school from where students should evacuate in case of emergency. That is safety drill. But this particular industry carrying such dangerous chemicals, no safety drill was ever practiced by the workers inside the industry. Another mistake. And then a supervisor is supposed to be there. A school also has a supervisor. Every industry is supposed to have a supervisor who will go and supervise and monitor all the machines and whether they are functioning or not. But what had this particular industry done? The supervisor was thrown out of his job. Why? So that they would not have to pay him his salary. To save the salary, the supervisor was thrown out. All the mistakes you can see. No zoning, lakhs of people surviving in and around the vicinity of the industry, the vital gauges, machinery that would have trapped the MIC, they were defective, supervisor was thrown out, no safety drills were practiced, and then on the night of 3rd December, the disaster occurred and methyl isocyanate gas leaked out, very, very fatal, very, very dangerous gas. and the people were sleeping at night. They did not know what was happening, and there was smell of burning chili in the air. It smells like chili pepper, and there was smell of chili pepper in the air, and people did not know what was happening. Whoever came in contact, there were direct deaths. Animals died, people died. There was nausea, there was vomiting, there was headache as initial symptoms. And when people were taken to the doctors were clueless. They did not know what treatment to do, because something like this had never occurred before. Doctors never knew that people could also be infected with MIC. So they did not know what treatment could be given to these people. So people died, and people who survived the disaster who lived. Later they suffered from some or the other kind of cancer. So this is one of the worst disaster that people today also remember, the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. And one very important aspect that has not been mentioned in your textbook, you have to remember American company in India and such a disaster. The case was filed with the Supreme Court. People had lost their lives for no reason. The case was lying with the Supreme Court class for 25 years. The Supreme Court could not give its verdict as to how they could help the people, how the offenders could be caught. 25 years, you can imagine, is a very long time. From 1984, it was in the year 2010 that the Supreme Court gave its verdict on the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Now, this is also another tragedy to wait for 25 years to give the Indian people their justice. So, if you are asked about a disaster with MNC, it is Bhopal Gas Tragedy that has occurred in your own country. So, the next topic about how we can regulate the action of MNCs, I will be discussing in the next class. Thank you, class.